Everybody. All right, I'm now pushing this out live to all the pages. It takes a second here. We're gonna go live on Greg Spiro, Weekly Piano, Spirit Fingers, Tiny Room, and Rope-a-Dope. All right, now we are live on everything. And we should be able to see your comments if you leave comments on the left side. So everybody, just flood me with your comments now. I see them all just going crazy. All right, we have a very special release this morning. By the way, we have Max Garrell on with us. I'm going to go over to here. Okay, Max, they can see you now.
Morning, everybody.
This is Max Garrell. We are releasing the Spirit Fingers first instrumental single entitled Nails, featuring Mr. Max Garrell there, Mike Mitchell, and Dario Cazzolino, and myself. So that's what this live stream is about. But before we do that, I actually was just having a lot of fun with this. I was listening to, there's a live stream that Andy Serkis is doing. Here, wait, check this out. You just have to hear a little bit of this. You can only hear it now.
Too hungry outside, but he was no west, which shows how low spirits.
And earlier in the stream, I wish I could actually show it to you. Maybe there's a screen where I can show it to you. Oh yeah, if I go to web, here, check this out. I might be able to actually show you the window.
He made up his mind that he would not be mistaken, and he came to the door.
Yeah, there it is. Max, you can check this out too if you look up my stream right now. So I had this idea that would be fun of, like, I feel like his voice is so, it sounds like a movie score. His voice sounds like a movie score. And he's reading Lord of the Rings, I think. Or maybe The Hobbit, I'm not sure. It's the Andy Serkis Hobbit-thon, so maybe he's reading The Hobbit. But I thought it would be really cool to orchestrate this live a little bit. So I have my piano here, but I need to I need to pull up a patch that's a string patch.
Until all hope of escaping in any other way is disappeared.
Greg padding in the background.
Yeah, wait, just check this out. Check this shit out. It's gonna be really fun.
Very high indeed, had altogether
okay, I'm going to my plugins, EST, Native Instruments,
they all
Contact.
Own shares in the treasure, which
I just have to pull up a string sound. Are we live on everything, by the way? Let me make sure we're actually live. Oh yeah, we got some comments there. Sweet.
All trusted Bilbo.
Howdy Dan, howdy Jesse. Okay. So at least some people are seeing this, but check this shit out. Tell me if you stop hearing what's going on, because it's possible Facebook can flag me for doing this, but I don't think they'll do it at least immediately, so I'm going to try this. Here's session strings. I'm going to have to add a little bit of compression and some reverb to it.
Nearly burst, but no bright idea would come. One invisible ring was a very fine thing, but it was not much good amongst calming,
right? Okay.
I think he's done a lot of voice work, not just obviously the voice of Gollum. That wouldn't get anybody hired for
one day
audiobooks or anything. But yeah, I think that's like one of his like career staples, his voice work.
Okay.
He only get entries to the cave.
Okay, wait, I don't hear the strings yet.
Flowed under part of the lowest regions of the palace and joined the Forest River some way further to the east, beyond the steep slope, out of which the main mouth opened. Where
Max,
this underground watercourse
yes, I can.
There was a water gate. There, the rocky roof came down close to the surface of the stream, and from it a portcullis could be dropped right to the bed of the river to prevent anyone coming in or out. But the portcullis was often open, for a good deal of traffic went out and about. A good deal of traffic went out and in through the water, and if anyone had come in that way, would have found himself in a dark, rough tunnel leading through into the heart of the hill. But at one point where it passed under the caves, the roof had been cut away and covered with great open trapdoors. These open upwards into
I'm not really on the right setting for these strings. I gotta fix that
barrels and barrels. For the wood elves,
have a
especially their
sustain there.
king, were very fond of wine.
All right, articulation.
And other goods, and who were
Use it to
brought
sustain.
from far away, from their kinsfolk in the south, from the vineyards of men in distant lands. Hiding behind one of the largest barrels, Bilbo discovered the trapdoors and their use, and lurking there, listening to the talk of the king's servants, he had learned how wine and other goods came up the rivers or overland to the long lake, and had seen a town of men still throned there, built out on bridges far into the water as a protection against the enemies of all sorts, and especially against the dragon of the mountain. From Lake Town, barrels were brought up the Forest River, and often they were tied together like big rafts and poled or rowed up the stream. Sometimes they were loaded onto flatboats. When the barrels were empty, the elves cast them through trapdoors, opened the water gate, and out the barrels floated downstream, bobbing along until they were carried by the current to a place far down the river where the bank jutted out, near to the very eastern edge of Mirkwood, and there they were collected and tied together and floated down to Lake Town, which stood close to the point where the river flowed into Long Lake. Sometime Bilbo sat and thought about this watergate, and he wondered if it could be used for the escape of his friends. And at last he had ideas, a desperate plan. The evening meal had to be taken to the prisoners, and the guards were tramping away down the passages, taking the torchlight with them, leaving everything in darkness. Then Bilbo heard the king's butler bidding the chief of the guards good night. "Now come with me," he said, "and taste the new wine that had just come in. I shall be hard at work and clearing the cellars of the empty wood, so let us have a drink first to help the liquor." "Very good," laughed the chief of the guards. "I'll taste it with you and see if it's fit. What do you think? There is a feast tonight, and do to send up for stuff." When Bilbo heard this, he was awed, but he saw luck was with him. He had a chance at once to try his desperate plan. He followed the two elves until they entered a small cellar and sat down at a table, which two large flagons were set. Soon they began to drink and laugh merrily, and luck of an unusual kind was with them. It must be potent wine to make a wood elf drowsy. But this wine would, it would seem, with the heavy vintage of the great gardens of the Dorwinian, not meant
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
his soldiers.
This is
or
too
his
much fun
servants,
and
but
too weird.
for the king's feasts,
And could go on for a very long time.
but not for
Spirit
the
Fingers
butlers
release. I'm going to
went
make everybody
round.
listen to me play
Very
to
soon,
Andy
Chief
Serkis
Guard nodded his
reading
head,
this book.
and then
What is this
lay
book?
on the table and fell asleep.
I'm
The
not
butler
sure.
went on
People
talking
are
and laughing
commenting.
to
They might
himself
know
for a
what
while
it
without
is.
seeming to notice, but soon his head too nodded
Um,
to the table, and he fell asleep and snored beside his friend. Then,
Is he talking about Bilbo or about Frodo?
I can't tell.
very soon, the chief.
I wasn't really listening to the words. I was more listening to
Bilbo
like the
was
tone of his
trotting along
voice.
the passages towards the
Anyway,
south.
I'm going to pause this. We can get back to the program. I just thought that was.
I
kind of-
know.
I tend to get distracted about things. But it looks like our folks are logging on. We've got people watching from all the different channels. I guess that was The Hobbit. Yeah, that was The Hobbit. Somebody said, okay, enough of The Hobbit, LOL. Cool. So this is Max Garrel, bassist in Spirit Fingers, everybody. And we don't have Mike or Dario on with us this morning. They'll come on another morning, but Max and I wanted to premiere this track for you. There's an address that you can go to, by the way. Let me pull up the web address of the thing, of the release. I need everybody to first of all share this stream if you would. Oh hey, Brandy Younger's on. Okay, watch us instead of Brandy Younger, everybody. Haha.
That's cold, Greg. That's real cold.
Sorry, Brandy. I love you. Is it Mother's Day?
That's on Sunday,
Oh,
I believe.
Brandy's thing said Happy Mother's Day. Well, This is a pre-Mother. No, this isn't Mother's Day release yet because I do this every day. So I will do a special Mother's Day tribute when Mother's Day comes along.
Sounds real sincere.
I love my mom. I'm very sincere about Mother's Day. I just forget it is the problem.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I love your mom too. She's a lovely lady.
Sounds like there's a joke in there somewhere. But
No, I'm completely serious. No joke. You're the whole Spiro family is very lovely. I'm big fans of the collective Spiro.
Right. Hey, thanks for sharing, guys. I hear the little chimey thing that means you guys are sharing. There it is. Oh yeah, Barbara McGarry is now following. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so please share this stream. We need to spread the word that Spirit Fingers is releasing Nails this morning. Do you get it? Nails? I actually didn't even think about that when I was naming it. I literally realized it this morning. I know that's weird, right?
Yeah, I remember that was always kind of, just after spending so much time with knowing each of these tunes by, whichever number tune they are, or tune 50 in this case. Mm-hmm. So much of the time I'm always thinking, like, what are these names going to end up being, and how long is it going to take for me to remember which tune it goes with which name? I feel like this one, it either had to be something like this or it had to be something like like I always heard something pertaining to Greek mythology just because it's so epic,
Yeah.
It's just start to finish.
What would you say? What would you say it would be called if it weren't nailed? What would like the Greek mythological god be?
I'm inclined to have it be something relating to the Odyssey. Just
you're a philosophical cat, Max. You're studying Stoicism, reading the Odyssey.
Well, the Stoicism, I have to give my own mother credit for that. So happy early Mother's Day. I believe she's watching at home. But
I think my mom's on here too. Yep, there she is. Oh no, my mom saw me forget about Mother's Day. Greg, you better know when Mother's Day is. Don't. That's the thing about doing live streams. I have like ex-girlfriends watching, and like I talk about something, and they'll text me and be all pissed off at me. Like it really is. It's a scary gauntlet to be potentially saying something to every person that you've ever spoken to, and you don't know who they are, who's watching right now,
I can't say that I know, but I can understand how that might be a problem.
Somebody says, "Stay cut your nails." That's funny.
But yeah, I feel like with like the Odyssey, like this is just like 5 minutes of all hell breaking loose, in a way of putting it. Or it's, obviously, like, the track is structured and the song is structured in a way to where everybody is so, it's really notey, but it's really in the pocket, and it can't be any other way. Otherwise, it collapses in on itself musically. But I feel like that just kind of gives me like, shades of Odysseus trying to get back to Ithaca,
Somebody else said Odysseus.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in the chat said Odysseus. It's above. It's up there now, so I don't see. But I think somebody mentioned that name. I don't even know who is that. I'm
not sure. I think Jesse mentioned it.
No, who's Odysseus?
Odysseus. He was a. I'm not sure what his official title was on the mountain of Ithaca. I think he was like the ruler there. But so he was a Greek soldier and leader and politician, and he went and fought in the Trojan War. Odysseus, it was actually his idea for the Trojan horse. He was the mastermind behind that. But after the Trojan War was over, they'd been there for like 10 years. So when they eventually turned around to go home, I don't remember specifically what it was. I think it was something to the effect of I don't think he cursed Poseidon, but he did something that pissed off Poseidon, the god of the sea. And so Poseidon essentially was like, "Oh, that's how you feel. All right, I'm going to just throw every possible thing I can at you to prevent you from getting home."
Oh, wow.
And so then it was like another 10 years or something like that, where he was just traversing all over the Aegean Sea, trying to make it back to his wife on the island of Ithaca, where in his absence, a bunch of, usurpers of his power and shady people came in and tried to take things over. So then he eventually got back and showed up and restored order. But yeah, so I mean, it's just a guy essentially lost at sea for years trying to get home to his family, but like a bunch of epic stuff happens.
That sounds sort of like the normal thing about life, right? Like
there are a lot of
truisms.
Truism. There are a lot of allegorical factors in that word. I mean, there's a reason why it's one of the greatest epic poems of all time. You know, Homer was Homer for a reason.
As somebody goes far away from his home to fight a battle, and then I guess wins the battle, but then tries to get home, or just leaves the battle, or what? Was the war over when he tried to come back home? I've never read the story, so.
Yeah, the Odyssey is the immediate success. It is the immediate successor. It immediately follows the Iliad, which was the book of the Trojan War that Homer wrote. Gotcha. So yeah, as soon as the Trojan War is over and you know, the Greeks were satisfied, they turned around and sailed back home, but they had to cross the Aegean Sea. Mm-hmm. So and I guess Troy was what we now know as Turkey. It was something like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. So the story of after you leave the battle that you thought was your main obstacle, and then just getting home becomes a whole journey of challenges and obstacles in and of itself. It's kind of it's pretty deep.
Powerful stuff.
I may have to read that at some point. Why don't we play everybody Nails here? Maybe before we play the actual audio version, because so here's one thing about the audio version is our distributor Vidya, which is through Rope-A-Dope, that they are really, really good about copyright protection. And so last night when Aaron Parks did his release, they muted his tracks that he was playing automatically on Facebook. So as we play this, it might get muted, but I'm hoping that it doesn't. But I know what won't get muted first is my own playing of it. So I'm going to try to execute this solo right now. Max doesn't have his bass, otherwise I'd make him play a solo version of it.
I would fight tooth and nail against doing that just because it's so difficult and it's too early.
Here, my hands are not warmed up, but I'm on the screen. Max, they can still hear you, but they can see my piano angles here, all the different things. Ooh, you know what? I have the strings. Should I keep the strings on? Will I play this, Max? Do you think?
It's 50% extra epic, 50% it might get a little foggy.
Yeah, that'll get weird. Nah, I'll leave it on. Let's see. So this will be the first and probably last time you ever hear this song with strings in the background. All right? Everybody enjoy this, because here, I'll make the strings there. There's sort of a background to it. Keep the piano nice and loud. All right, this is tune 50, an actual performance of it. And then I'm gonna play the actual track, okay? Check it out. Yes, thank you for whoever just sent the actual link. I really appreciate it. Yeah, everybody, please share that with each other. And share it on your Facebook, because this is, oh, by the way, if anybody has Spotify, go to Spotify and look up Spirit Fingers Nails. I'm pretty sure that'll pull it up. Let me just make sure. Spirit Fingers Nails. Yeah. And play that single, because right now on my artist app, see this here? We're no longer update. Oh, I have to update. Oh my God. I was literally using it this morning and it was fine, and now I have to update it. So I'm going to update the app, and then I'll be able to see how many people are listening to it right now. So if you love me, you will listen to this song on Spotify, or at least pull it up and have it playing on silent while I'm playing you this performance.
Greg, whose baby is that on the cup that you're drinking from?
Oh, it's my cousin's. I actually don't know which baby this is. Mm-hmm. I'll have to ask them. That's a good question.
An anonymous baby coffee mug.
It is an anonymous baby coffee mug. Somebody that's a famous baby now. All 2 followers of this stream can see the baby. I'm just kidding. There are more than 2 followers. There are at least
I saw Jesse asked a second ago if I'd read Ulysses before. Just to answer that question, I have not. It's on my list though.
Ah. Well, I'm definitely gonna read. Oh, hey, 4 people are listening now. Woohoo! That was better than the 1 that was listening a minute ago. All right, so you guys are going onto your Spotify. Everybody, so I can see here how many people are listening to the song. So everybody go and listen to the song and make this thing get super famous and have billions of streams and make us millions of dollars, because that's definitely going to happen with a crazy fusion jazz song. And
I mean, in the year 2020, anything is possible, if we're being honest.
I mean, this is true. This is true. But yeah, and if you don't use Spotify, which some people are saying they don't use Spotify, please go to that link that I have on my Facebook and also on this other screen here that I'll pull up in a second. Then you can listen to it on Apple Music or whatever else. Or you can actually, I think there are places where you can still pay $1 for it and download it, but I just don't expect anybody to do that ever anymore. Because that's not really the world that we live in. Anyway, so this is Nails. I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll play the song itself. So this is, and I'll explain it a little bit too. We call it bass 5, which is 5/16 notes for every quarter note. So it's really 20/16 divided into groups of 5. So it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4, but goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that becomes the basis for the whole. Hey, thank you. Somebody says, hi, Greg. I'm your fan from Korea. I'm G1. I remember you from yesterday, actually. I appreciate it. Hey, spread this around Korea because we definitely want to come play there when coronavirus is over. I just spread this song like coronavirus.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
Way too soon.
Oh, no. Yep, just lost all my fans. That's okay. Bass 5, like BASE 5, like the bass of the song is in 5, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like the bass is 5, but it actually can be counted in 4. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. This is a lot of the Spiritfingers songs are like that. Even though like the one in 17/16, it's like 17/16 notes in a quarter note basically. That's sort of that was the polyrhythmic concept that eventually became that became Spiritfingers. I feel like every single thing somebody says, I want to make a coronavirus joke now, which is really in terrible taste. Like somebody says, "Oh my God, that note's sick."
Restrain yourself, Greg.
I'm trying. By the way, for those of you guys who are who can hear the voice of God in the background, that's actually Max Garrett. And you can't see his face right now, but I promise he was beautiful. And yeah. Normalized Audio says, you will love Korea. I will. I just need to get my Korean wife and go and move to Korea for a little while, learn Korean, have a bunch of Korean babies. That sounds like a great idea.
I'll tell you what, I actually have a buddy that did that in Shanghai. A good friend of mine from Dallas, a incredible trumpet player named Jeremy Sinclair. And he just met a lovely lady from Shanghai, and he said, all right, I'm moving to Shanghai, and he's over there killing it.
I know a bunch of people who did that, especially in the SGI, the Buddhist organization that I'm with. Like a lot of jazz artists, actually. Because, well, first of all, the SGI is really popular among jazz artists, but it's a Japanese organization. So a ton of the people who are really into it here are actual Japanese people who moved here. So a bunch of the jazz artists that got into it, it was this weird mix of like really super talented, mostly African American jazz artists in like the 70s and 80s getting into this thing that was brought here by a bunch of like little Japanese women, and then a lot of them got married. and then some of them moved to Japan. It was kind of beautiful.
It's kind of interesting how jazz culture and Japanese culture seem to mesh so well, and that's I'm the cultural the what's the word I'm looking for here? That cultural blend. It's interesting to ponder on why that seems to be so fluid. Because I know, like, just the jazz market in Japan is so strong and has been for so many years.
Oh yeah, it's the strongest jazz market in the world. Actually, you go to Tokyo, and it costs $80 to get into the Blue Note, and it's sold out every night.
Well, we were just there with Cameron Graves a couple months ago. Mike and I were, and it was the coolest experience, and Tokyo in and of itself. And I'd never been before. That was my first time. So an incredible city, but just the treatment by the patrons, just the, and it's little things that you don't think about, but because sometimes, you play a show in the States, and this is not meant to, demean American audiences. This is not what I'm intending to do. But it's really interesting to go to a show, and for the entire time, the eyes do not leave the stage. And you can tell people are listening, and it's very different when you can see audiences that go out because they want to see music, or audiences that go out because they want to hear music. You can kind of perceive that difference, and there was a couple of families that were sitting in the front row. We did 2 sets a night for 2 nights. It was these same people in the front row for all 4 sets.
I had the same experience when I played with the Miles Electric Band. We played at Billboard Live in Tokyo and then in Osaka, and there were, for multiple nights at each place, the same people came back and were just there, like, just completely into it, mesmerized, and super attentive. I feel like in the U.S., people are there to be more social than they are to listen, which is okay too, but the culture in Japan is like, they want to go there and absorb this art, and they see it as something that is as special as it actually is. That's one of the reasons that I actually do want to live there at some point, and I'm learning Japanese. See, I've got my Duolingo app here.
Oh,
yeah. I'm serious.
Duolingo is for real. Duolingo is really good.
Wait, check it out. It's like, I'm Shushin, and I have to. So, what does Shushin mean? I have to pair it with the. See, I got that one right. I've got to pair like the bigger characters with the little characters. So there's like wa. I got that one. Bu. Got that one. Americajin. What do you think that is?
Take a guess or two. So there's somebody in the comments who's saying to check out a saxophone player named Patrick Bartley Jr. I don't know if you're hip to Pat Bartley, but he's a alto player in New York. This dude is for real. Like, he's really for real. Like, I'd known about him since we were in high school, because he went to school with some friends of mine in Florida. And he's very, very into Japanese culture. He spends a lot of time there. And yeah, you should, just for musical purposes, you should check him out. He's up there with the baddest alto players of the day. He's really serious.
Cool. Yeah, it's I've some of the great. I mean, obviously Thundercats into Japanese culture really heavily, and then a lot of the people in that scene, that like the sort of West Coast, like JD Beck and Domi are super into Japanese culture. JD actually hipped me to this artist out of Tokyo that has the weirdest shit ever. It's like everything is faster than you can possibly absorb it, and the chord changes are going by like insanely, and it's these like break beats, and it's executed so impeccably, and it's very musical, but like really twisted in these weird ways. I mean, Japanese culture has some, like, the thing is they take something and they go really, really, really deep into it. Like that's what they did, like, with harmonic progression, and if they're gonna play fast, they're gonna play like crazy fast. It was the same with DDR, like Dance Dance Revolution. Some of the Japanese pop songs that they used in that were like, you could barely even move your feet to it. I remember that was even like 20 years ago when that was popular. But yeah, that goes like, and in food too, sushi. Like you go really deep into sushi culture, and it's like almost unbelievable how detail oriented and artistic they get with it.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's I feel like my knowledge of that culture is so just immensely surface level, kind of oxymoronic, but like it's just even the couple of days we spent there, you can tell it's there's just an attention to detail in all things. I mean, like just at the staff at Blue Note Tokyo, like I remember I can't remember a time I've ever been around friendlier venue staff, and that's every phase, you know.
Yeah, the venue staff, they're so polite.
Yeah, and we went and we had we had like some free hours before we had to go to the airport to come back to LA, and then we hadn't had sushi at that point, and I figured, well, we would be remiss if we didn't find a way to fit that in while we're here, and I think I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but we found like a nigiri sushi shop, and it was $10 for 10 pieces, and just absolutely unreal.
Yeah.
And each piece was different, and I wouldn't even know where to begin to describe the specifics of each one, but it's
and it's wildly inexpensive. Like the common sushi restaurants there are really, really good and really inexpensive.
Which I felt really happy about, because going over there I was a little nervous because I had heard that Tokyo can be a little pricey
It can. It is very polarized.
Right.
Like I stayed. I remember I can't remember the name of the hotel, but it was one of the. I stayed in a fancy hotel there once, and I remember going to the sushi restaurant at the hotel and getting like the tiniest thing of sushi, and it was like $50 for this tiny little like 4 pieces of sushi. It was like $50, and it was good. But then later on, I think it was a different trip. I was staying somewhere else in Tokyo, and it was a much more reasonable area. I went out into this like the district that was supposed to be like the young hip district.
Was it Shibuya?
Yeah, Shibuya. Yeah, I went out in Shibuya. I went to the sushi restaurant that was one of those like cart ones. It had like the all the sushi on the rotating cart thing, and we ate till I was stuffed. And it's hard to get stuffed on sushi. Like you have to eat a lot of sushi to get stuffed, and it was like $10 a person. It was just crazy, and it was amazing. It was better than at the fancy place. So it's kind of you got to be careful where you're going, because people there do have a lot of money and can waste it really easily. Yeah. So there are some expensive, crappy places, but there are also cheap, amazing places. You just kind of have to know where to go.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, so we can ramble on about Japan as long as we want. Let's hear some Tune 50.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'll play it first. But wait, real quick first.
はじめまして、マリアです。
Do you know what that means?
I have no idea what that means.
Hajimemashite means, I think, nice to meet you. Let me see. Yep. Hajimemashite. And Maria des means I am Maria. Hajimemashite, Greg des. See? I'm learning it. I'm getting it. All right, here. I'm going back to the opening screen now so you can see my hands, and I'm going to play the song. Turn my volume up a little bit. Strings. Forgot about that. So, that's the song on solo piano with a little bit of strings. And now you get to hear it as though the band were playing it on the recording entitled Nails. By the way, even as you're listening to this, let's see who is listening. How many people are listening to it on Spotify? 4 people. All right. So I need you guys to put this on and have it on loop so it goes up in the Spotify algorithms. It's up to 83 plays this morning, which is really nice. But let's just keep it going up and up and up and up and make this thing get played like crazy so that Spotify notices it in the algorithms and we can all celebrate and make billions of dollars off of streaming music, because that happens in 100 years. All right, here we go. I hope you enjoy Nails. I'm putting the screen on so Max can see Max too. Here, there you go. I love that people are naming the scales that we're using in the song.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I love it. Makes me happy. I'm just a frustrated drummer.
I think we're all frustrated drummers in some way, shape, or form.
Can you guys hear it all right? It's not being muted by Facebook? Yeah, the left hand is challenging. It is. It took me a while to be able to play that. Yeah, check out Max hitting these unison lines.
Yeah, this line, this line was the bane of my living existence. Trying to get this down at speed.
See, I missed a note there, but I left it in because that's jazz. Max Carroll, everybody. It's like progressive metal.
Actually, straight up.
Mike's a metal drummer for sure.
We talk about that, about starting like a death metal for a little bit. Yay, us! And yeah, now we have to figure out some way to execute it that cleanly live.
Right? I know. We you know what, man? We got pretty close at this last show, except for I think I called the ending of one chorus early. By the way, I think it was Christina Florio who just liked the stream. Thank you for liking and sharing this stream. If you if you share it or like it from my Facebook page, it will show in the middle. They'll show an icon in the middle with your name on it. So do that and appear in our stream, because we need to get people listening to this song so that it can rise in the Billboard Top 100 charts and become the most popular song in the world, right above Halsey's next single. I'm just kidding.
There's no bitterness there or anything.
Or am I? What?
There's no bitterness there or anything.
I love Halsey, and that whole crew. But it is a fun little thing. It's fun and ironic to be a jazz artist who, like, participated in one of the biggest pop sensations in the world right now, and then like jumped back into the little jazz pool because I just love it too much. You know?
Yeah, it's, I feel like that's becoming much more the norm, as sort of the faction of, dyed in the wool jazz truthers becomes slightly less and less,
Wait, dyed in the wool jazz truth. I don't know what that phrase means.
Well, just, it used to be such a prevalent, I don't know, I wasn't alive. I've just been told that, like, that used to be such a mindset of a lot of jazzers, is that, like, you either do this or you're not legit, Mm-hmm. And I haven't experienced that, like, a couple of cats, but not really. But I feel like it's much more of an acceptable thing in musician circles to sort of traverse both worlds these days,
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate, and that cross blend of different sounds is made for some really cool music like this, like we don't have this album, like you've got this tune and then Goodbye, which features Judy Jackson, of course, on the same album. That doesn't happen without that cross,
Yep, absolutely. I think pop is getting more jazz influenced too. I mean, not all pop, but there are some artists who have come out, like Kendrick Lamar, for example, who are incorporating, like, really very specifically jazz influenced sounds into their recordings. And I mean, all pop stems from the influence of jazz in the first place, especially hip hop and urban music. It was originally break beats of jazz records, right, that were like repeated and over again to create the beats that people would rap over. But it's moved away so much from that in the popular culture and popular eye, and now it's like taking these two pieces are cross-pollinating more. By the way, somebody asked what genre that is. I really don't know. It's like, I don't know what genre that is. Progressive jazz metal?
I know. Like, whenever we do that sort of vibe with Cameron, we've started calling it thrash jazz.
Thrash jazz.
That kind of fits it pretty well.
Should we make thrash jazz a thing? Have like the Cameron Graves and Spirit Fingers tour, where you and Mike will just be playing all night, and then we'll just do like the two groups back to back playing thrash jazz. It'll be the thrash jazz tour.
That would actually be interesting too, because it's the same instrumentation in both bands. It's
do you guys
similar.
have a guitarist too?
Yeah, Colin Cook plays with us now.
Oh yeah, Colin, he's badass. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Colin's a monster.
Man,
Colin's freaky too, because I remember, like, I knew of him for a little while, because Cameron, before Mike and I started doing the trio stuff with Cameron, Cam was doing this LA band with Colin on guitar and Aaron Haggerty on drums, and Joe Cleveland was on bass. Mm-hmm. So that band was stupid. Like, it was crazy, stupid in a good way.
Joe is amazing.
Yeah, Joe's unreal. Yeah, I've got a lot of Joe stories. I can't go down that rabbit hole. I'll be there for days.
I know.
I mean, just because we used to live in the dorm together at Berkeley, so like we go way back. But
okay.
So he used to have that band, and we were doing the trio. And when we started doing more of the metal stuff with Cameron, he was like, "We need a guitar player. Like, I really want that sound." And so he said, "I'm going to bring Colin in." And I first met him. We did Monterey Jazz Festival with Cameron, and I just met Colin like the day before, and he's just the sweetest guy, like instant chemistry. And like, you would never know, because he's super sweet, soft spoken, but as soon as he gets that guitar in his hand, he's a murderer. He's unreal. Yeah, that would be fun to see him and Dario go at it. they're very similar people in terms of just their like the way they interact with other people, you know.
Yeah, they're super chill, and like
Yeah.
and like it's impossible to get into a fight with Dario. It's like literally impossible to get into a conflict
Yeah.
with him, because it's just so like, okay, whatever, hey, whatever.
Well, the thing about Dario that cracks me up, Dario, and anybody that's seen this band live, that's seen Spirit Fingers live, they'll see this. And I think the gig we did at Martyrs back in September, in Martyrs in Chicago, really exemplifies this the best. And you know, I recorded the thing on my phone, so I went back and listened to it the other day. And when we were playing Find,
Mm-hmm.
when we get into the solos, and of course, like I think
That's the
Mike and I,
that's
yeah.
the-
yeah, Mike and I got really excited. This was really hot, and so we immediately started rushing like real bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever. But so like it got really intense, and you know, Dario's time his eighth note time is so solid that like there's a couple of points in his solos where it's like, how are we, the rhythm section, rushing this much, and Dario is still pushing us really hard. Like it's so intense. And the thing about that is it sounds crazy. Like in like my mind's eye, I'm picturing this dude going in, but in all reality, Dario's sitting there like this.
Yeah, right. He's not moving a muscle.
moving, like maybe smiling a little bit.
Yeah, that like little half smile, but then he's staring. His eyes
he's
are just like
going.
laser on something, even if it's not anything in the room. They don't move.
And he's going so hard, just
And it's
sitting there
just
like half smiling.
If you were, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, I know.
It cracks me up every time. Like whenever I'm like, man, Dario's going for it. No, he's just sitting there.
You know, we have video of that whole concert, and I have the
Do
board
we?
audio. So I just haven't gotten around to putting it together because I'm understaffed right now, to say the least. Yeah, but
That was a really good show.
it was a good show. I'm gonna put that out, at the very least, some clips of it. But I think people will be really interested to see that. By the way, do the people who are watching right now, do you have any questions for us? This is one of those times where we will like actually look at your comments and answer your questions. And is Facebook still going, or did that stop? Because it's possible that it. Oh no, it's still going. Okay. For some reason, my live streamer said that it had a weird time connecting, but it's cool. Oh, because it was also trying to connect to the Rope-a-Dope one. Never mind. Yeah.
Also, shouts out to the person in the comments that said they live in the Berkeley dorm.
Oh.
I hope that I lived in 270 for 2 years. I hope for your sake that I had a great time, but I hope you're in a more comfortable dorm than 270 Commonwealth Avenue.
Yeah, dorms at colleges. I mean, not now, right? Nobody's in any dorms now because they're petri dishes, so you can't, like, no dorms exist at the moment. I mean,
I'm not really sure how Berkeley did it, because I know they made a pretty snap decision about closing the campus, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy for me to say this because I'm looking at the way they did it, and it's like you told people the campus was closed and they got to be out of the dorms in like under a week. In a city like Boston, which is in the top 5 most expensive cities in America to live in, you've got international students that they've just got to find a flight home in under a week. Like there's so many reasons why that was in my opinion, kind of a foul thing to do. But at the same time, also, like, I understand, like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know?
And it's the option of, like, make it more likely that everybody gets really sick and that you have these big outbreaks and then the emergency rooms are overloaded, or make it really inconvenient for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah, it's, you know, you're really in between a rock and a hard place in terms of Berkeley's management of that scenario. And at the time, they didn't have any cases. I don't know if that's the case now still. But hey, if nothing else, at least it's in like one of the best, you know, medical cities in the world, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's true, I guess. You know, that's one of the interesting things about people lifting cities lifting the quarantine rules now. It's like people have to realize that doesn't mean that you won't get sick. That means you're like that there is space for you at the ICU if you do get sick. So so we can do that. You know?
Which is equal. Which in a way, it's kind of like okay, and it's like this is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I just encourage everybody to still stay home, and if you can, if there's any way for you to stay home and not go out into public, like just stay home for as long as you can. That's what I'm doing. I can do pretty much all of my work from this little station that I've got set up right here. So I'm just isolating and making sure to meditate and work out and keep myself healthy in body and mind, and just stay.
But we're fortunate though, you know, not everybody is in the position, you know, because you know, we have the tools that we're able to work from home, but you know, a lot of people don't. So, you know, to anybody that's watching this, that's struggling with, you know, everything that's happening right now, you know, this doesn't do anything for you, but you know, we're thinking of you, you know, and wishing you the best and hoping that, you know, you find a way to successfully navigate what is a what's uncharted territory for anybody that's currently alive, you know. So.
Well, and those people should know that they have our deepest appreciation, especially people like healthcare workers who are out and have to be exposing themselves to this in order like to do the greater good that they have decided to do with their lives. And it's humbling to be in a position where people in the world are doing that, and I feel very, very grateful for those people.
Yeah. A good friend of mine from high school is actually she just became a first responder in New York, a paramedic, and like I think maybe a year ago. Oh, no. So it's like, wow, what a time to just start that job. Yeah, and it's really wild because I know she lives with a couple of other friends of mine from high school, and I'm not sure what precautions I know they're taking precautions to make sure that, you know, just because she's around it all day and night, that she doesn't bring it home. I mean, you know, so, you know, equal respect to her roommates. Yeah. Some other friends of mine, you know, because that's it takes a lot of courage to be able to have a first responder come back into your home and you're able to, you know, put aside any fears you might have of contracting it and, you know, support this friend of theirs that is literally on the front lines. And, you know, in the United States, there's no more front line than New York right now.
Yep, absolutely. I've had, I mean, the people, I know a few people who have died from it, and most of the people who I know who have either gotten sick or died from it are in New York. I mean, granted, I'm in the jazz community, so the people who are, hey, thanks for subscribing, Heidi. The people in the jazz community who are in, like, well, the jazz community is centered in New York. That's like a big, it's New York and LA, but New York got it really bad, a lot worse than LA. And yeah, so the people who are hit from it, it's like, I know a bunch of people that got hit in New York. It's crazy. And then you still have the conspiracy theorists going around saying, oh, it's not anything, like, you're so silly. Yeah. It's a government cover-up for, like, no, people.
You know, let's get back to some of the Spearfinger stuff. You know, like all these people subscribing, they didn't tune in to watch us talk about something that everybody else is talking about right now.
This is true. All right, back to Spirit Fingers. It's 9 o'clock, so we should go pretty soon because this is from 8 to 9 technically every day. But if anybody has any other questions about, Jesse Henson says maybe you can do the score for an anime movie. I feel like we have just done the score for an anime movie. Like this is basically the score to an anime movie. So if everybody could, that's somebody says I do bass 5 on drums, but how is it written on charts? On charts, it's actually easiest to write it as in this chart. In Max, maybe you can remind me if this is correct, but I think on the chart for this I wrote it as 5. It's as 16, 20 over 16, right? So you have 16 notes,
that sounds about right. Yeah.
But you write it as, hey, thank you, somebody donated $5. Appreciate you. Oh man. I wish I had a little. I could make it so that maybe I can figure this out so that when somebody donates, it actually like rains $100 bills down like over the screen. I think that would be pretty cool. But writing it on charts, I'm pretty sure you write it in groups of the 5/16 notes are each grouped together, so you have 4 groups of 5/16 notes in a row when you write it out. Because this is actually, the melody is in 5. It's it's actually, it's important to write out all those notes when you're giving it to somebody to play. so
yeah,
you write it in 2016, I would. But you call it bass 5 because when you're feeling it, it's like, the way you feel something is different from the way you write it, right? So I'm feeling it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like,
So just I've always felt it as just like a pure 5. Yeah. I wish I could play it and count it while I'm playing it. Yeah. Could you play it real quick?
Yeah. Well, our counting's not going to be in sync if I'm playing it.
But we won't worry about it then. But yeah, I've always felt it just as like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Like in my count is since it's all 16 notes, I always count it as 5 with the 8th notes. Is always kind of how
really?
I felt. Mm-hmm.
So like, if it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that.
Yep.
Because I count it 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I'm saying 2, you're at 2. You're at 3. When I'm saying 2, you're at 3.5.
Yeah, because I'd rather feel it as 8th notes than quintuplets. I feel like that's just for me personally. That just because everybody has their own way of feeling things, and I feel like, especially once like Mike gets going and he starts throwing some stuff out there, like if I'm not solid in how and this is actually something that people ask me a lot of the time, actually, like every time I do like a Facebook Ask Me Questions or something like that, there's always a number of like, how do you play with Mike Mitchell and things like that. And, like, the biggest thing for me is just like knowing where I'm at and like what my feel is before we start. Like if I try and figure it out once we're in it, then it can be problematic,
to say the least.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. One of the exercises I've done with this is messing around with using that as the bass, but then doing hemiolas because I was gonna, at some point I'll actually solo over this. But in prepping for that, I'll often do exercises where I put a 4 on top. So like.
Oh yeah.
And then it's kind of weird to like split your brain. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, duck, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You know who's really good with stuff like that? James Francis is like an absolute master of splitting time between his hands. He's really, I don't know if you've seen this, but the way he plays with Chris Potter's trio, he's playing like harmony with his right hand and he's playing key bass for himself with his left hand. With Chris and with Eric Harlan on drums. It's really nuts. It's like watching a dude solo and also play bass for himself.
Yeah, over weird time signatures.
Weird time signatures, weird harmony. Yeah, James Francis, check him out. For anybody that's listening to this that hasn't heard of James before, check him out.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with James's playing, but I've heard of him, and I know I've heard his playing too, but I just can't remember it. Man, there's so many badass musicians out there. It's just makes me remember that I need to be practicing every day.
Oh yeah, because if you're, that's like one thing I kind of have to try to not, live and die by this mentality. And I used to have this whenever I was younger, which, before I had like a career of any sort, which is just that I might not be practicing, but somebody out there is, and they want the gigs that I want just as bad,
Yep.
So that, I used to think about that a lot. But.
I had that mentality in college. That's what, and I think practicing at that age is the most important because your brain is the most malleable at that point. Like you're 10 years younger than me, so your brain is still like a spring
10 years
chicken.
Younger to the day.
Yeah, which is really fucked up. And it's also the reason that I got your flight information wrong when I was flying you to Europe that one time.
Yeah, just for anybody that's wondering what he's talking about, Greg and I have the same birthday, but just 10 years apart. I was born on February 22nd, 95. Greg was born February 22nd, 85. So it was some flight. We were going somewhere for a Spear Fingers date, and I get to the airport, and they're like, we can't check you in. There's a problem with the reservation, and like I could not figure it out. And I don't know. I guess because of my beard, they figured I looked 35. I guess, and so they didn't think about like the year on the birthday being wrong, and eventually we figured it out. But
yeah,
scary there for a second. Greg put his own birthday instead of mine.
Yep. I mean, it's that one number is so easy to miss, like 1985 versus 1995, and it's still really weird that you were born in 95. It's weird that anybody was born in 95. Like,
hey, that was a good year. That was, I think, the last year that my Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl. So last year.
Sports. Yeah, that's a sports is a unfortunate landscape right now. You guys got.
Yeah, well, they did. They just announced the NFL season, like every team's schedule yesterday, and I think like the presumptive idea right now is that they would do the season with no fans in attendance. Mm-hmm. And it's so tricky because the athletes, if they were to bring back that, because right now the NBA playoffs would be happening if things were business as usual. Mm-hmm. So the commissioner, I think they've reopened facilities so people can train. I'm just assuming we're not going to have a season at this point, but so what they're talking about is they can do games with no fans, but the athletes are the ones who are going to suffer from that because they're going to have to quarantine the athletes in between games. Mm-hmm. So you're telling people you can't see your families for however long this is going on. Like, we'll put you in, I guess they'd be in hotel rooms. They wouldn't be able to get their own food. Like, they would really be extremely constricted, And so I can't imagine a reality where like a collective league agrees to that.
Well, but there's a lot of money to be made, though. Like
there is that, And
it's like, do you want to quarantine yourself for a year and make $5 million, or do you want to, like, just not make any money and not do this year and then just do it next year?
But also, how do you tell a man with babies that, like, hey, we'll pay you a lot, but you can't see your kids for a year? Because at a certain point, everything is relative, So for like a lot of pro athletes, like it's a lot of money for people like us that we make jazz musician money, but at the same time, it's all relative. That's they're paid.
If you don't need it, it might be more worth it to just go. And you can't make somebody play. It's like like every individual will be able to choose if they want to go home and stay with their kids. I guess it'll be a matter of if more of the people want to go and stay with their kids than they do go out and make their living. Then,
it would be a big act of sacrifice on a lot of athletes' parts if they were to choose to play the game. And Drew Brees, the great future Hall of Famer quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, he said something that I thought was really, really. I mean, it's so simple and there's nothing significant about it, but it's such a sentiment, which is just that, he was asked, like, do you miss sports? Do you think sports would make this easier or something like that? And he said, I think right now, we need sports more than ever because it is a way of stress relief for a lot of people. I know Greg, I'm a super sports dude. So
you're always on checking out the whatever is going on.
Actually, I pissed off Cameron one time because I was watching a game like right up until we walked on stage one time.
And you've done that with me too.
Yeah, well, especially during fantasy football season, like I got money on that, so
it's so ridiculous. Fantasy, the whole idea of fantasy football seems so absurd to me.
That's because you don't play it.
Yeah, it was like, well, okay, I would let's do fantasy jazz, right? We're gonna pick our jazz players and put them together and see which one forms the best supergroup. I'll put who would I put? I'll put like Brad Meldau with Stanley Clark and see what happens, right?
That's actually one thing I think is really cool about the jazz landscape is that we don't necessarily need to wonder what would happen if a lot of those super groups got together because we've been blessed with a lot of super groups just in reality, like the Second Miles Quintet, Coltrane's Quartet, Keith Jarrett's Trio. Like there are so many and also even more recently with like Josh Redman's early 90s band when he had Brad Meldau, Christian McBride, and Brian Blade.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite groups.
That's such and this is, no disrespect to Josh Redman, because he's an incredible player, incredible band leader.
Mm-hmm.
And a good band leader knows how to put together a good band, mm-hmm. and that band is crazy. Like, mm-hmm. some of those records and the live performances, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that. Right whenever I was first starting to play upright, whenever I was like 15, 16 in high school, those were some of the first records that I really checked out.
Yeah.
Is the way Christian used to play on those records.
Yeah. Totally. I've had many a workout session listening to those YouTube videos that they have. It's a big inspiration. I feel like that's probably a good note to end on. I think I want to play this track for people one more time as we exit the building here, proverbially and not literally. But for those of you who are still with us right now, which is a good amount of people, please go to Spotify. This is the release. So I have the address right there where it says please share. That's Max Garrel with his beautiful lush beard. You can hear his beard on the recording. That is.
Smell it too.
Yeah. Oh wow! Hey, we're up to 122 streams. Thanks, guys. I've done like 40 streams in the past half hour. So yeah, there are 2 people listening now, so let's bump that number up and let's get more people listening to it on Spotify. Share it with your friends, please. Help us get this out into the world and make billions and billions of dollars selling streams on the internet. And we love you very much and we thank you for supporting. I'm going to play this track one last time as we get to the exit screen here. So this is Max Garrel, for those of you. By the way, Max has his own project. What's it called? Well, it's just Max Garrel, but what's the album called?
So Tbilisi is out. I've also got a single coming out on May 29th called Rochelle's Sparrows, and that's my trio with Mike Mitchell on drums and Rochelle's Sparrows. That's Mike Mitchell on drums and the great pianist Paul Cornish on piano.
Yeah, did you guys record that one at my studio, or was that the previous one?
Yep. Both. We did Tbilisi and we did Rochelle's at Tiny Room.
Recorded live at Tiny Room Studios. So, yeah, that's the thing. And did I mix that one? Did I help you mix that too, or was that?
We did a rough mix for when I was needing to show it to some people in New York, but I ended up sending it to my guy at Dolphin Records, Ben Hickson, and he did the mix and master, the final mix and master.
All right. Well, check that out, and then also. The thing you can hear right now is Spirit Fingers Nails. So go to the link up there and please share it. Please share this stream. Tell all of your friends about it. And especially for our international viewers, we really appreciate you spreading the word because we love traveling to your countries when it's not coronavirus world. And one day it will not be coronavirus world anymore. So let's pave the runway for that.
Indeed.
All right, this is Nails by Spirit Fingers, everybody. Thank you very much. Here we are. See you later. you mark that as a usable take?